Don't any of you have the guts to fight for blood?
I'm your huckleberry.
Alright guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to have a discussion on ammunition and how much do you need. So as you can see, I've got my mags and ammo out here on the table so you guys can get an idea of what I'm doing. And there's a few questions you have to ask yourself when you really get into guns and shooting. The first one is, what are your intentions? Like, what are you preparing for? What do you think that you may need ammunition for? I'll tell you, mine is just that I like to shoot. I shoot all the time. I've lived through several price hikes on ammunition at this point. So my theory is I buy as much as I can afford when it's cheap. I stack it up. And then when we have big price hikes and panic buying, I don't really get caught in the crossfires because I've already got enough ammunition put aside to where I can continue training and shooting without having any issues finding ammo. So, like I said, I've been shooting now for, since I was 15 really, but buying my own stuff since I was 18, so a good 17, 18 years now. My theory on it is you should take your primary rifle. In my case, that would be an AR-15. That's, the rifle I would fall on if shit hit the fan or if I had like an intruder or something along those lines. I would recommend that you break it down into primary rifles, primary calibers for different types of weaponry. So, for instance, you can see here what I keep a stock of. All of these cans are not filled with ammunition. Most of them are. But I also have an ammo can for each firearm or magazine type. The reason I do that is when you start buying a bunch of mags, you've got to run into the issue of where do I store all these things. So my theory is for rifles, I get at least one 50 cal can and I put as many magazines as I can fit in that can. So like for instance, I have one can for AK-47s because I only have one AK right now. If I were to get a second AK, I would get another can. One can will hold 10 AK 30 round mags. So that's fine for me for one rifle. I feel like that's pretty acceptable. Now, on the other hand, for ARs or just different rifles I have, like the Kel-Tec RDB that use AR pattern magazines, I have a significantly higher amount of those rifles or rifle types. So as you can see, like this is a 4 30 cal cans in I think it's an MTM crate. Each of those 30 cal cans will hold 8 30 round AR-15 magazines. I also have a 50 cal can full of AR mags. That'll hold, I think, 16. And then if I have any additional space left in the cans, I just fill it with additional ammo. I also like to keep my mags for my primary type of rifle loaded. So all of my AR mags are always loaded unless I'm shooting them currently. And then once they get shot, they get reloaded. For pistols, what I like to do is each pistol or pistol type, I'll get a 30 cal plastic ammo can, and I'm not gonna say fill it up because that would be a little ridiculous for some things, but I just try to get at least 10 magazines for each pistol. Some I don't have that many, like for Glocks, I have a lot of mags for those. But like for my CZ-P07, I've got 5 mags. For the PSA Rock I just picked up, I've got 6 magazines for that because those are pistols that are not as common and I'm not using them as often either. Those are more like secondary or even tertiary options in my mind. So I told you that my primary rifle caliber is .223. Then in addition to .223, I like to keep .308, 7.62x39, and .22 long rifle stored up. .22 I have quite a bit of. I stack that up just as often as I can. 7.62x39 and .308, I keep less of that on hand because I have less rifles that use it. So for instance, 7.62x39, I only have 2 rifles that are chambered in that, and that's a bolt action and my AK. And then in a .308, I've got 3 rifles currently chambered in that. So my numbers, like what I like to look at for my baseline, for .223 or 5.56, because that's my primary caliber, I want to have at least 1,000 rounds at all times. That's my baseline, my minimum. A caveat I would add to that is then for every additional .223 or 5.56 rifle you have, I would increase that number by a certain amount. So in my mind, I got to have 1,000 rounds baseline, and then for every additional 223 or 5.56 rifle I have, and for the record, I don't buy 223s. They're either 5.56 or 223 wild, so they can shoot either caliber. But so I'll use those terms interchangeably, but you know what I mean. So, for instance, if I buy 4 AR-15s, then I'm going to have 1,000 round baseline, and then for every additional rifle that uses that caliber, I want to have another 500 rounds that are like my shit hits the fan stash. Now, I'm not like a paranoid prepper. I don't believe like the Russians are going to invade necessarily, or fucking aliens are going to land, or Bigfoot, or zombies, or anything like that. But I have lots of guns, and I like to shoot a lot. I train all the time. I'm always out here on the range and doing something. And when you're out of ammo, you really can't do that. So I stock up for that reason more than anything. Now, my baseline is my don't touch it, because I'm going to need that ammo if prices go up to, like, say, $1.50 or $2 a round again, like we saw a couple of times with 5.56, especially with 308 ammunition. So that's my thought on that. So depending on how many rifles you have of that caliber, you're going to want to adjust the baseline or your minimum amount to meet those needs so that you can continue training. Now, that's not like you don't have to do that or die. It's not like that type of thing. But depending on, you have to know yourself. How much are you going to train with each individual rifle? If you feel like you're only going to train with one rifle and those other ones you bought are just like safe queens, or you're just going to let them chill, you're not really that worried about it, then cool. Just rock 1,000 as your baseline and let that ride. You should be okay. That way, if shit hits the fan, you can't buy ammo or whatever reason, anything, you'll have enough ammo put aside to where you're good to go. For pistol caliber, I do the same thing. So 9mm is my primary pistol caliber. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure I've got at least 1,000 rounds of 9 at all times, and then an additional 500 for every other 9mm that I have. And I have quite a few 9mm. So I keep quite a few 9mm ammunition, quite a bit of 9mm ammunition on hand. For my secondary and tertiary calibers, like my secondary caliber for rifles would definitely be 7.62 39, just because of cost and practicality at this point. So for that, I try to keep 1,000 rounds at least. So I would say 500 rounds is my baseline for a secondary caliber. And it's pretty much the same. I'd say 7.62 39 and 308 are in the same boat there. So for a secondary ammunition source, the way I like to do it is I go 500 rounds as my baseline, and then another 250 for each rifle that I have. So I have 2 rifles in 7.62 by 39. I'm going to want to at least have 1,000 rounds of 7.62 by 39 on hand at all times. That's my, leave it alone, just forget about it, store it in ammo cans, put some silica packs in, and let it sit. Same thing with 308. I've got 3 308s, so about 1,250 rounds is what I'm trying to keep on hand. That's very difficult with 308 because 308 is fucking expensive, and I'm trying to do some testing and evaluation for a couple of 308 rifles right now. So I am kind of having to eat into that stash, but I'm going to make sure I don't go past my minimum, which is that 500 round threshold. Then I'd say tertiary or secondary calibers for pistols, 357. I've only got one 357, so I keep like 500 rounds of that. That's not as critical. If I get into that ammunition and shoot it a little bit, having fun, playing on the range, whatever, I'm not really so stressed out about that. Same with 5.7. I don't even have an ammo can for 5.7 yet because I just picked up that pistol. Right now I've got about 450 rounds put aside for that, so I can continue testing with it. But little by little, I'll start stacking ammo up. Another thing to think about. So we also talked about, let me cut back. We also talked about magazines. Like I said, an ammo can for each weapon is kind of where I'm at with magazines. You may not necessarily fill it up. Like with a handgun, 10 mags is great. But if you've got 5 magazines for your, a handgun, that's plenty. Put 5 mags in that plastic ammo can, fill the rest of that space with just boxes of ammunition. If you got 200-300 rounds in there, that's great. That's just additional ammo. So if you ever want to go shooting, you can grab that ammo can. You've got mags in it. You've got ammo in it. You can just take it to the range. It's one portable system. Another thing to think about, in the rare event that shit actually does hit the fan and we come to like some type of horrible situation and you're trying to arm your family and friends, one thing you can do is you can hand them a weapon. You can grab an ammo can that corresponds to it and hand them that. They'll have the weapon, they'll have magazines, they'll have ammunition, and same thing if you have to grab it. So that's kind of where my mind's at on that as far as preparation goes. Now, the hard thing is getting to this point. I understand this is a lot of shit. This is honestly not a lot to some people. To some people, this is nothing in the realm of like ammunition and magazines. But what I do, and what I've been doing for several years, is just you got to pay attention to the ammo market and magazines. So it kind of works like the stock market. You know, when demand is there, the price is going to go up. When demand dwindles, the price will go down. So you have to watch it and understand what baseline prices are for different calibers. So in my mind, like ideally, what I'd like to find is I'd like to find 9mm ball ammo for about 18 cents a round. If I find it for that price and definitely lower than that, I buy as much as I can stand to buy at that given time. For 223, I don't know if we'll ever see it get back to what I would consider an ideal price, but about 30, 35 cents a round for brass would be phenomenal. Right now, it's running closer to like 50 or 60 cents a round. But I haven't had to buy any AR ammunition since all this shit, since COVID started, really. I haven't bought any AR ammunition since the prices went up. I'm just still living on the shit I had stocked up already. AK ammunition, it would be glorious to see it get down to 20, 25 cents a round again. Right now it's sitting around 50 to 60 cents a round as well. But if you can see it get back down to 25 cents, I would say buy it then. If you need it right now, you got to buy it. It is what it is. But try to get to a place where you have enough put back so that you don't feel so panicked when you see ammo prices going up. 22, I think is running around 8 or 9 cents a round right now. Ideally, I'd like to see it get back down to a nickel a round. That's kind of the baseline where if I see it at that price, I'm like, oh, I have to buy something now. That's a great price. 5.7 ammunition has honestly gotten better with time. I've been finding it lately for around 50, 60 cents a round on 5.7. It's still high. When you consider that you could buy a 5.56 or fucking AK ammo for the same price as 5.7, it does kind of make you think, like, how serious is this 5.7? How bad do I really need it? Do I want this to be my primary carry option? And for me, that's why my 5.7 is just a secondary weapon or a secondary range option even. 12 gauge ammo is a little different depending on what type of shot you're looking for. I remember when birdshot was 20 cents a round. It's certainly not that now. Now it's about twice that. When you're buying the bulk packs, you're going to pay $38, $40 for 100 rounds. And that's just the name of the game. If you have it stocked up, you don't have to buy it when prices are high. But if you don't have it stocked up and you need it, you're just kind of shit out of luck and you got to pay what they're asking. Let's see. Buckshot. Ideally, if I can find buckshot less than $1 a round, I buy it. Some of the cheaper shit, like I think Academy, you can get for like 50 cents a round for buckshot. That's pretty good by any standard. So I'm buying that when I can because it runs well for me. I can't speak to how well it patterns hunting. I don't hunt with it. I just shoot steel targets and, I have it put aside for home defense. And in a home defense setting, I don't care how that shit patterns. It's going to be fine across the distance of the biggest room in my house. I'm staring at the back of these ammo cans trying to see what I haven't spoke about yet. I can't see the labels. 308 ammunition's it just sucks buying it, I'll be honest with you. There was a while, where 308 ammunition was 50 cents a round or under for brass cased milsurp shit, and that is what I'd love to see it come back to. But seeing as how that's the price of 5.56 and AK ammo right now, I don't think that's going to happen. PSA has had the best prices I've found on brass cased 308 ammunition at like $15 a box, which is 80 cents a round roughly. Yeah, that sounds right. 75 to 80 cents a round. But by the time you pay taxes and shipping on that, realistically, you're looking at like 90 cents a round, which is still better than you're going to find it locally or find it at Walmart. Certainly, Walmart's like $22 a box for the cheapest shit plus tax. So PSA is where I've been ordering my 308 recently. I miss the days where I could buy 308 for fucking $400 a case for 1,000 rounds, but that is what it is. Speaking of buying by the case, that's another thing to heavily consider. If you can afford it, to buy 1,000 rounds at a time, you're certainly going to save money in the long run because you're avoiding shipping taxes most of the time. If you buy a certain amount, you're going to get free shipping. You can't really avoid taxes. There's only so much you can do there. You'll find a few websites here and there, depending on what state they're in, that may not charge you a sales tax. But legally, you're still supposed to report that on your taxes and pay it. So I don't really, I don't mess with that shit. I ain't trying to go to prison. But yeah, so those are my thoughts currently on ammunition, how much you should have, how much you should try to store. And, another thing to consider too, in the event this shit does hit the fan, this is all tremendous barter material. Because most people aren't prepared. You think to yourself, if you're a shooter, how much ammo do you really have? If it's not you, if you're a guy like me and you got a shitload, the people that you know that shoot, that own guns, how much ammo do they have? Most of the people I know that own a lot of guns, they may have 100 rounds of each caliber put aside in their closet, and it's certainly not stored in ammo cans for long-term use. It's sitting in a closet somewhere, and they're just going to shoot it up and then go buy 2 more boxes. And that's completely understandable for some people. Some people don't train that often. And if you really don't train that much, then you don't need that much ammo. But if you train and you shoot a lot, ammo goes fast. 1,000 rounds sounds like a lot to an uninformed person until you realize if you go out and spend a whole day on a range shooting, you can easily shoot 1,000 rounds, especially if you got a bunch of mags preloaded. If you got 10 AR mags preloaded, you can shoot that shit in 5 minutes, and that's 300 rounds gone. If you're just out there dumping mags into the trash or whatever the fuck you kids are doing now. But I would say be cautious of how you use ammo at this point. If you can afford to shoot it as much as you want, fuck it. Let it rain. I don't care. But if you're trying to be a little bit more conscientious of your budget and you have to consider how much you're spending on ammunition, one thing to definitely consider is how you're going to ration it out for range trips. So for me, what I do right now is every time I go to the range and I'm testing a certain rifle, I'm locking myself into 100 rounds per trip. That's just for making sure I don't deplete my stash before I have a chance to re-up and fill it back up. So for me, rifles, I'm going to take out about 100 rounds at a time. And when I'm out there on the range just fucking around and training, I'm loading my magazines to 10 rounds. That way I can get more repetitions in than just loading. If I take 100 rounds and load 3 mags, what am I getting? 3 mag changes out of that whole training session? So I try not to do that. And sometimes I'll even download it more than that. If I'm really working on mag changes or rapid reloads, I'm going to load those mags to 4 or 5 rounds at a time. That way I can come up, make 2 shots, come down, bring it back up, make 2 shots, mag goes empty. So now I've got 2 reps on coming up and acquiring my sights, and I've got a rep on changing magazines. And if you take 100 rounds and you break it down into 4-round mags, you're going to get 25 mag changes out of that. That's big when you're looking at training and what you're actually trying to achieve as far as building muscle memory and understanding the basics and getting your mechanics down. That's huge. Same with pistols. You can go out with pistols and just practice double taps and rapid reloads all day. So from a low ready position, if you want to use a timer or you just want to, go on the honor system, whatever, it works. You can come from low ready, come up, make 2 shots on target, the mag goes empty, change the mag, reload. You can do 2 more. So what I would do in that case, 2 rounds in the mag in the gun, rack the slide, put it in the holster. Your secondary mag's going to have 4 rounds in it. So you would come up, fire 2, mag goes dry, drop the mag, change it, reload, fire 2 more, put it back in your holster. Take the other mag, put 4 in that, or you could have multiple mags pre-ready and pre-set up so you can go like that. That way, every 4 rounds you shoot, you're going to have a mag change in between. So you're getting repetition on bringing the gun up, acquiring the sights, trigger control, breath control, and mag changes with very little ammunition spent. Another thing to consider for conserving ammunition is dry fire. I tell this to anyone who will listen to me, dry fire makes a world of difference. It doesn't seem like it would. It seems stupid. You feel like you look goofy when you're doing it. Don't worry about all that shit. Don't do it in front of people. There's an idea. For instance, you can see behind me, I've got all these fucking horror dudes I built because I'm a big horror nut as well. These are dry fire targets. I get out here in the man cave, I fucking take a gun, I do a safety check, I make sure it's clear, I stand on the other side of the room, and I just practice, bring it up, acquire the sights, squeeze the trigger, make sure that fucking sight doesn't move when the trigger breaks. That's a clean shot. Rack the slide. You're doing a couple things there. You're building muscle memory. You're learning trigger control because you can actually see that sight dip when you fuck it up. So dry fire is huge. I'm a big proponent of dry fire. You should definitely do it. But hopefully I didn't fucking forget to say anything. These are just my thoughts and opinions. If you have a different opinion or you think I'm doing something wrong, please let me know in the comments. We'll discuss it and we'll figure out if I am. I'd like to fucking get better too. I'm by no means perfect. I'm a student of the gun just like most of you are, and every day I'm trying to learn and get better. But like I said, these are my thoughts on ammunition storage, how much you should try to keep on hand, magazines, shit like that. And thanks for watching. Y'all be safe out there. Peace out.